Hey Rangers, today we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Movie Collection 6, which is Fusion Reborn and Wrath of the Dragon. Fusion Reborn is 50 minutes and Wrath of the Dragon is 51 minutes. I'm going to kind of briefly go over Fusion Reborn and Wrath of the Dragon. Fusion Reborn is all about the weigh-in station, a tournament that's going on with Goku and Pikkon, and one of the check-in station helpers pretty much is listening to music, gets told to kind of do work, where something happens down there and he gets completely covered with centuries upon centuries of evilness, and he turns into a creature called Janemba, which then is a big baby, which reminds me of Majin Buu, and then turns into like a killing machine, or at least someone a lot better at fighting. And Wrath of the Dragon is all about a hero called Tapion, and he pretty much is there to stop Harugagon, I think I said the name right, who is about to destroy the Earth. So yeah, they're not too bad other films. Fusion Reborn is one that I haven't seen for a very long time. It was something kind of like different. In Fusion Reborn, there's lots of dots and there's lots of grains, some black spots and some white spots, but overall the quality was actually pretty good. As I've mentioned before, it's all about a helper that turns around and gets covered in evilness from all the souls that have been cleansed before they get released back into the wild, effectively, so that they can become reborn. Now, the point of this is happening, Goku and Pikkon are actually having a tournament. They're actually fighting against each other, and it's starting to get quite good until the match is interrupted, where the where the check-in station has been covered in like a crystal type form, which actually stops the match because it keeps popping up all over the place in the tournament. They're then told to go to the check-in station to actually go see what's happening, and this is when they meet Janemba. Janemba is a big baby, effectively, that sits on top of the weigh-in station, giggling and laughing, and Pikkon and Goku are about to fight it, and this is when Goku gets really excited and is like, oh my god, I've got to fight you. And Pikkon's like, no, or is it Pikkon or Pikkon? Pikkon is like, no, I want to fight it. And in the Janemba's like, I want to fight you in baby speak, and it's like, I want to fight you, Goku. And this is when Goku tricks Pikkon and says, hey, you kind of figure out how to get everyone out of the check-in station. I'm off to go fight. See you later. You find out in this, because there's so many parts and it kind of like cuts away, that once the check-in station has been frozen or is not able to do anything, the realms of heaven and earth kind of erupt so that no one can die, and effectively the dead can come back to living. So we see zombies, we see ghosts, but this is the point where Gohan and Videl at the very beginning of the film are stopping a robbery. When they get back to the high school, they're then summoned away because loads of bad guys are happening. When Gohan and Videl arrive at downtown, they see a lot of zombies type things, I think, and then you see Frieza. Frieza's back. Yay! And this is the Frieza that I remembered from my childhood compared to the new one that we've got now. So Frieza's there and he's like, oh, my minions. And Gohan's like, haha, you don't remember me, but I remember you. And then suddenly Frieza's like, oh yeah, guess what? I kind of remember you. You're the son of Goku. I'm going to kill you, and that's better than anything. Boom! What happens? Gohan beats him. One punch. But what I don't understand is it says that you can't die. So Frieza would just be back in hell, just going, you know what, I'm going to go back up. So we see all like the bad guys from like Bojack, we see the Ginyu Force, and they basically all run away from what's going on. Rather than jumping back into, because this film does jump quite a few times, so obviously we got the fight with Janemba and Goku going on to the point where Goku then goes Super Saiyan 3 and actually beats Janemba's baby form, which then turns him into like a killing machine. We then switch back to like Goten and Trunks, and they find Hitler. Yeah, he's in it, or what's meant to be Hitler anyway. So effectively it's Goten and Trunks just defeating everybody and all the troops and stuff like that, and go Super Saiyan. Hitler's like, oh no, you're blonde with blue eyes. I'm not going to go into details with that. I don't want the video to be demonetized. So, as Goku goes against like baby Janemba, he's gone Super Saiyan 3, he defeats it, it becomes like a killing machine, and this is when Vegeta turns up. Vegeta's like, you know, oh, I sense this fight, I'm dead, you know, so why not, I'll come in. And he gives a little bit of speech, as pretty much Vegeta gets absolutely wailed on, and so does Goku, until they actually run away. They start talking about fusion, how it's good, and then they decide to do the fuse. Goku teaches Vegeta how to do the fusion dance. They do the fusion wrong, and they become the fat version of it, you know, which they've explained in previously in the series, where, you know, if you don't get the symmetry right or the movements right, power levels right, etc., then you get a different version. You either get the fat, the thin, or the one that you want from it. So you get a bit of comedy because fat Gogeta turns around and runs away. They actually call him something else. It's not Gogeta. I can't remember the name. It's something like Fayatju or something. I can't remember. They say it very briefly, but you don't really hear the name. So in the end, when the fusion wears off, Pikkon joins in and he keeps Janemba at bay, and then Goku and Vegeta actually fuse properly. So when they fuse properly, this is when Goten and Trunks can sense it, and then they transform and they do the fusion dance and they become Gotenks, and thus therefore that's it. Now, one thing that did get to me is that Gogeta doesn't actually have that much of a sway. He's not in it for very long. I think he's in it for around about maybe 20 seconds, and then he beats Janemba. This is when the helper comes back and he runs away, and Vegeta at the very end's like, alright, cool, I'm off, see you later, you know, maybe one day I'll get my body, blah blah blah. He just fades away, and that's when it pretty much ends. And I've got to admit, I kind of thought that it would be a little bit longer with Gogeta. I thought that he would turn around and he would fight a lot more. So I was really gutted on that one. Wrath of the Dragon is something very well paced in my eyes, and it wasn't a bad film. So we find out that there is Tapion, who is the hero of the story. At the very beginning, his brother gets killed, and I thought, oh, that's Tapion when he's smaller, because I hadn't seen the film for such a long time. So Tapion and his brother were able to keep Harugagon, I think I said his name right, like from destroying people. They sealed him inside him, but then Tapion's brother was killed at the very beginning, and then you got this old man called Poi, and he pretty much tricks everyone into getting the Dragon Balls, releasing Tapion, which will then bring out Harugagon. And Tapion pretty much looks like Trunks. At this point, as he's been summoned and he's coming in a really cool way, Trunks idolizes him. He is now his hero, where Trunks really wants to get to know him, wants to become his friend, etc., etc. So with Tapion, he can't rest. He has to stay up all the time, because the moment that he falls asleep, the top half of Harugagon will just manifest and attack everything. If both the lower part and the upper part join forces together, there we go. It becomes one solid person that can just destroy everyone and can't be stopped. So in the film, we see Trunks trying to gain his trust, and when he does, Tapion opens up a little bit, tells him about the past, and then Trunks falls asleep because it's his bedtime. Tapion then starts talking to Bulma after she's kind of caught him and says, hey, tell me your backstory. And we find out a lot more about wizards and how like they were able to make Tapion and his brother kind of magical, that could summon, that could bring in Harugagon and make sure that he never escapes, etc., in certain ways. I actually kind of really liked his backstory, because Tapion loses to some degree as his ocarina is destroyed, and the fact is that you can't seal him inside him anymore. So at this point, this is when Harugagon is completely formed, and this is when everybody's going towards him. And I've got to admit, Vegeta's really weak in this. I thought Vegeta would be able to hold much more of a fight, but he gets completely whipped. It just seems to be that he gets completely whipped. Coming near to the end, Harugagon then transforms into an ultimate form, where he's more powerful. And it's the point where they have to figure out a way of getting around him to make him go, oh, hang on a minute, you know, what's your weakness? And they find out that he has all this like emotion, and it gets in the way. So in the very end, Goku is the one that actually takes him down really, really quickly with I think it's a Dragon Fire or just Dragon Punch, which looks really cool. I think it's one of the best moves I've seen. And it just plows straight through him completely. Then when it comes to an end, Tapion gives his sword to Trunks, which again, we see that it's the same one in the history of Trunks. And the films aren't canon, apart from one or two of them, like Bardock and the history of Trunks. But it's making it really hard not to turn around and go, is that one? Because it's showing clips of like the history of Trunks at the end, etc., etc. So we see quite a lot going on. And those are the brief stories of the film. Now, let's talk about the writing. The writing to me was actually quite decent. For both films, it seems quite normal pace. Everything seemed to kind of flow. The writing was absolutely fine. There wasn't anything for me to go, oh, I kind of don't like that. Compared to like the Broly films, where the main character of the film didn't really say anything. But with Tapion, it seemed absolutely fine. And then obviously, Janemba didn't actually say anything. But at least it wasn't, I'm going to kill you, Kakarot, Kakarot, rah. But the kind of things that, in the Fusion thing, I think the only downside to the writing was the fact that Gogeta wasn't used that much. You used the fat version of Gogeta, which kept farting on Janemba. That was kind of a little bit funny. But I kind of wanted a lot more. Like, it could have got rid of half of the stuff that that one was doing, and they could have then gone to Gogeta, and it could have been a bit more fighting, rather than, here's 1 or 2 punches, here's my soul attack, you're gone, film's end. So it kind of it feels like it built up. I generally liked the tournament that they had in that one as well. And yeah, so the animation was fine, though it reminded me a lot of old school Dragon Ball. One thing that I didn't kind of like is when it switched to Goten and Trunks fighting Hitler, the animation was completely different. It was not the sort of style that I would have associated Dragon Ball. It just felt like it was a random thing that was just drawn like tongue-in-cheek. It was meant to be, it's kind of like a chibi form, but we're not, and we're overblowing with colours. And I think that didn't fall in very well. When it came to that, I just think it could have been handled a lot better. But still, the animation to that one was there. But it kind of picks up and it becomes a lot better at the very end when it isn't those parts. And then again, with Wrath of the Dragon, the animation style is fine. There's more action, there's more kind of hitting. There's a lot more kind of the night scenes when obviously Gohan and Videl are trying to defeat the lower part of Harugon straight away, and it's kind of nighttime in the city. And I kind of like that switch. I also kind of like that switch from day to night. Obviously, it felt like it was more kind of a sinister thing, which I generally dug in Wrath of the Dragon. What made this interesting for me is, I think it was some of the story. Wrath of the Dragon held my interest more because I hadn't seen it for a long time. I think I've only seen parts, but it was nice. It had such a really interesting and deep story with Tapion. You know, it wasn't just a, hi, I'm a hero from the past, I'm here, goodbye. You know, it actually felt like there was more depth to his character, that you could connect really quickly in the short amount of time that the film was. So you could connect, you actually felt something for the character, and obviously you could see the bond between Trunks and Tapion, even though it was kind of quickly forced onto you. It wasn't forced to the point where it's like, hi, I'm Tapion, hi, I'm Trunks, we're besties. It was the part where Trunks tried to gain his friendship. I was just like, yeah, you know, I want to be your friend. You are now my hero. And Tapion was like, no, get away from me, and then explained everything. And I generally liked this. And also it felt when Bulma and Tapion were talking, that to me felt like it was kind of a real moment rather than, oh, this is just kind of quick, let's not even do this. So there's a lot more interesting. And I also liked Gohan and Videl, or Gohan not trusting Tapion because he thinks that Tapion is a bad guy. I really like that. I hated Poi in this. I generally hated Poi. But when Tapion says like, oh, Poi's race is the part where they think they're the superior people, you know, that's what this is all about. I generally thought, yeah, okay, I've met people who think they're better. When you work in retail, you get those sorts of people all the time. So yeah, those are the moments that made it really interesting for me. Now, my final thoughts is Fusion Reborn could have been a bit better, but Wrath of the Dragon really made up for that, really gave an in-depth story, and I really enjoyed it. With the animation, the way the fighting at time was fine, I enjoyed that. I kind of really wish we saw more of the tournament, so I think that they could have done another film to have the tournament in Otherworld. I kind of missed that. You see it very briefly in Z, but it was such a good one. But yeah, I generally enjoyed it. The characters were all fine. There wasn't anything different with them, apart from Mr. Satan. He's constantly just annoying the crap out of me all the time. I just don't like him as a character. So would I get this? Yes, I would actually recommend this, just so you can see what it's like with Tapion and Wrath of the Dragon. And obviously with Fusion Reborn, where you mainly focus on Gogeta rather than Vegito, it's actually a really good film to watch. And it's kind of longish, but it actually generally keeps you entertained but I would get it more for Wrath of the Dragon. So Rangers, what do you think about the films? Have you seen them? What are your thoughts? Do you like Tapion? Do you hate Poi as much as I do? Or would you rather watch Fusion Reborn? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you've liked this video, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the other videos on the channel. If you want to help out the channel on Patreon, link is in the description down below. And as always, Rangers, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.